Welcome to this lesson on the t-test for a population mean. Specifically, we are looking at the scenario where the population's standard deviation, represented by sigma, is unknown. This is one of the most common situations you will encounter in real-world statistics. So, when do we use a t-test instead of a z-test? It comes down to one key question. Do we know the population's standard deviation? If we know sigma perfectly, we use a z-test. But in reality, we almost never know the true standard deviation of an entire population. Instead, we have to estimate it using our sample data. When sigma is unknown, we must use the t-test. Here is the formula for calculating the t-score. It looks very similar to the z-score formula. We take the sample mean, subtract the hypothesized population mean, and then divide by the standard error. The standard error here is calculated using the sample standard deviation divided by the square root of n. Let's break down those variables. X bar is your sample mean, the average of your data. Mu naught is the population mean from your null hypothesis. S is the standard deviation of your sample, which is our best guess for the population's sigma. And n is simply the number of items in your sample. A critical concept in t-tests is degrees of freedom, often abbreviated as DF for a one-sample t-test. This is calculated as your sample size minus 1. The degrees of freedom determine the exact shape of the t-distribution we use. As your sample size gets larger, you have more degrees of freedom. Visually, here is the difference. The blue line is the standard normal z-distribution. The red line is a t-distribution with low degrees of freedom. Notice the fat tails on the red line. Because we are estimating sigma, we are less certain about our data, so the t-distribution accounts for this by having more probability in the tails and a lower peak. To perform the test, we follow 4 steps. First, state your null and alternative hypotheses. Second, plug your numbers into the formula to find the t-statistic. Third, use a t-table or software to find the critical value or p-value based on your degrees of freedom. Finally, compare your results to make a decision to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. Let's look at an example. A company claims their battery lasts 10 hours. We measure 16 batteries and find an average of 9.5 hours with a standard deviation of 1.2 hours. Plugging these into our formula, we calculate a t-score of negative 1.67. This tells us our sample is 1.67 standard errors below the claimed mean. Now we make a decision. With 15 degrees of freedom and a significance level of 0.05, our critical cutoff value is negative 1.753. The red area is the rejection region. Our calculated t-score of negative 1.67 falls just outside this red zone. Therefore, we do not have enough evidence to reject the claim. We cannot say the batteries are significantly worse than advertised. To summarize, use the t-test when the population's standard deviation is unknown. Remember that we use the sample standard deviations as an estimate. The shape of the curve depends on sample size, known as degrees of freedom. And finally, as your sample size grows, the t-distribution looks more and more like the standard normal distribution.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.